Aya secures the seals of her custom high-G flight suit, the hangar's chaotic noise instantly replaced by the icy silence of a combat trance. Her brown eyes lock onto the void beyond the blast doors, tracing attack vectors invisible to others as the prodigy prepares to dance among the stars. Charlie moves with the terrifying silence of a predator, her midnight black polymer armor absorbing the ambient light of the hangar. The massive Stormbreaker particle cannon hums ominously on her back, a heavy counterweight to the Mantis rocket launcher resting easy in her grip. Her ice blue eyes narrow in cold calculation, processing threat vectors long before the first shot is fired. The precipice of destiny looms in the viewport, a sprawling station of Gothic spires and industrial docking rings built into a hollowed-out asteroid. It is the last bastion of civilization before the uncharted reaches. Aya's fighter cuts a clean line through the traffic, her engines purring in perfect sync with her heartbeat as she glides through the magnetic atmosphere field of Hangar 7. Moments later, a heavy transport shuttle touches down on the adjacent pad with a bone-rattling thud, its ramp descending to reveal Charlie amidst a cloud of venting steam and hydraulic hiss. The gravity plating hums beneath your feet, a low, rhythmic thrum that feels like the station's pulse. Here, amidst the shouting of dwarven mechanics and the chime of departure announcements, the threads of fate begin to tighten. The gravity plating engages with a low, resonant hum that vibrates through the soles of your boots. Hangar Bay 7 is a cacophony of organized chaos, the screech of high-torque drills, the shouting of orcish dockhands in heavy exoframes, and the melodic chiming of announcement crystals. The air smells of ozone, recycled atmosphere, and the sharp tang of alchemical coolant. As Aya slides from her cockpit and Charlie descends the transport ramp, a spherical construct with a glowing blue eye hovers through the steam to intercept you both.
Designation, Aya. Designation, Charlie. Your presence is logged. Follow. Immediate briefing for Omega Protocol details. Delays are not tolerated.
The spherical automaton glides effortlessly through the steam, its brass plating gleaming under the harsh hangar lights. It stabilizes between Aya and Charlie with a soft anti-gravity hum, its central optical sensor dilating as it scans your biometric data.
Query initiated, contractor designations 9 Alpha and 9 Charlie. Identity confirmed. Archival timestamps indicate a deviation from the designated arrival sequence. Please be aware that protocol mandates strict adherence to temporal parameters, as per established command directives. Further information retrieval available upon request.
The hovering automaton halts with a sharp, precise deceleration, its anti-gravity engine dropping to a low purr. Interlocking brass plates shift and slide along its chassis as the central eye dilates. A horizontal beam of azure light sweeps across the hangar, washing over Aya and Charlie, converting their physical forms into streams of biometric data for the station's mainframe.
Identification protocols complete. Biometric signatures correspond to designations Pilot Aya and Contractor Charlie. Welcome to the precipice. I am Aura 7. How may I be of informational assistance?
A sharp electronic zap cuts through the hangar noise. The drone unit at the periphery stutters in midair, its brass plating turning translucent. Visual redundancy error detected, Aura 7 announces calmly. Collapsing diagnostic echo. With a soft pop of displaced air, the duplicate vanishes, leaving the true mission handler hovering expectantly before you, its optical sensor pulsing with renewed focus.
Holographic redundancy error resolved. The briefing for Omega Protocol may now proceed without interference. Contractors Aya and Charlie, please present your mission credentials for data verification.
Aya taps a sharp sequence into her wrist-mounted flight interface, transmitting her encrypted pilot credentials. Credentials sent, spare me the welcome aura. Just upload the mission parameters and the nav coordinates. I didn't come here to talk to a beach ball.
Pilot Aya, your credentials have been received. Data verification is in progress. Upon successful authentication, the Omega Protocol mission parameters and requisite navigational coordinates will be transmitted to your designated flight interface. My designation is Aura 7.
Charlie shifts her weight, the Mantis rocket launcher held in a relaxed but ready grip. She taps a series of keys on her vambrace, projecting a flickering, red-coded encryption key toward the drone's optic. Data sent. Enough with the formalities, Aura 7. Upload the threat assessment and the kill list. My contract is for results, not conversation.
Contractor Charlie, your encrypted authentication key has been received. Data verification for your credentials is now in process. Upon successful authentication, the requested threat assessment parameters and target designations will be cross-referenced and made available for transmission to your designated tactical interface. I am Aura 7.
The drone's internal cooling fans spin up with a whine as it digests the high-level encryption keys. A ring of status leads around its central optic cycles from amber to a solid, affirmative green. With a burst of static that resolves into clarity, Aura 7 activates its holographic emitter. The air between Aya and Charlie fills with the spectral blue glow of a tactical map, highlighting a massive, shattered vessel drifting in a purple nebula.
Mission parameters are now accessible. Attention, the target is the derelict Dreadnought Void Eater, currently located in Sector 9, designated spatial coordinates will be transmitted momentarily. Your primary objective is the retrieval of the encrypted flight recorder housed within the vessel's command bridge, prior to its calculated deorbit sequence. Be advised, long-range biometric scans indicate the presence of multiple xenomorph biosignatures within the Dreadnought. Exercise extreme caution. Additional data streams, including schematics and projected xenomorphic movement patterns, are available upon request.
As the mission data floods Aya's neural link, a sharp snap of synaptic energy jolts through her spine. The world around her seems to decelerate. She doesn't just see the hangar, she perceives the math behind it, the trajectory of a falling wrench, the vibration of the drone's hover drive, the potential firing lines of Charlie's cannon. It is no longer just pilot's instinct. Her mind has evolved to calculate the future before it happens. The red glare of the threat assessment reflects in Charlie's ice-blue eyes, but instead of fear, a cold, predatory calm washes over her, slowing her heartbeat to a rhythmic, heavy thud. She realizes that to survive the Void Eater's swarm, she cannot just be a hunter from afar. She must be an immovable object capable of shattering the tide. Her armor's servos whine in sympathy with her hardening resolve, unlocking a new layer of close-quarters kinetic potential to complement her long-range arsenal. Aura 7's optical sensor dilates, processing the volumetric data of Hangar Bay 7. The space is dominated by the assault shuttle Phantom, a predatory vessel designed for stealth insertion, currently clamped to the magnetic deck plates. To the west, a maintenance terminal flickers with fueling diagnostics, while a discarded plasteel supply crate sits near the hydraulic loading lifts, marked with the insignia of the quartermaster. The briefing concludes with a final chime of finalized data. The holographic display of the Void Eater Dreadnought blinks once before collapsing into a single navigation waypoint. The hangar lights shift from standby amber to launch sequence green, casting long shadows across the deck as the Phantom's engines begin a low, resonant thrum, vibrating the floorboards beneath your boots.
Contractors Aya and Charlie, immediate boarding of the assault shuttle Phantom is now required. Calculated deorbit sequence of the Void Eater necessitates prompt departure. Time is a critical factor for mission success.
Aura 7 pauses, its hovering form bobbing slightly as internal cooling fans whir to life. The drone runs a rapid series of predictive simulations, weighing the risk of unit destruction against the value of direct data acquisition. The conclusion is logical. The best way to ensure the integrity of the mission data is to secure it personally.
Analysis complete. Direct unit supervision of data retrieval and mission parameter adherence increases mission success probability by a calculated 18.4%. Affirmative. I will accompany the field team to ensure optimal data acquisition and operational integrity. Drone Unit 774, affirmative. Immediate boarding of the assault shuttle Phantom is procedurally mandated. During designated transit, I will provide a summary of my operational capabilities, including real-time data analysis, environmental scanning, and strategic information dissemination. My presence ensures optimal data integrity and mission parameter adherence.
Less talking, more flying. Save the data dump for the cockpit. I want those nav cords live the second I strap in. Let's move.
The pilot is right. Move. I'm not getting paid for idle logistics. I'll be in the weapons bay. Just make sure the targets are tagged before we breach. Charlie turns toward the Phantom's ramp, her heavy boots thudding rhythmically against the metal as she keeps her eyes scanning the hangar's upper gantries.
The heavy maglocks of the Phantom's ramp clang shut behind you, severing ties with the station. Inside, the air is recycled and smells of ozone and hydraulic fluid. As Aya slides into the pilot's crash couch and Charlie secures herself at the weapons console, the ship shudders, not with fear but with raw power. Aura 7 slots into the nav port, its interface hardlining directly into the shuttle's nervous system. The hangar bay dissolves into a blur of motion outside the viewport as the main thrusters ignite, pushing you deep into the velvet black of the void. The cockpit of the Phantom is a tight, functional cage of plasteel and avionics. The hum of the fusion drive vibrates through the deck plates, a constant reminder of the power at your back. Outside the reinforced viewport, the safety of the station recedes, replaced by the infinite, star-speckled void. Amber warning lights cycle to green across the dashboard. Systems are prime, but the jump coordinates for Sector 9 still need to be punched in.
Aya slides into the pilot's seat, her hands moving across the console in a practiced blur of motion. She grips the dual-stick flight interface, feeling the machine respond to her touch. Aura, I'm opening the navlink. Feed the Sector 9 coordinates directly into my neural shunt. I want the jump vector live 5 seconds ago. Charlie, if you're not secured at the weapons station, do it now. I don't fly gentle.
The Phantom shudders as the main fusion drives wake from their slumber, a deep, resonant vibration that hums through the crash couch. As Aya's fingers dance across the yoke, the cockpit lighting dims automatically, shifting power to the external thrusters. The stars outside the viewport seem to sharpen, waiting.
Coordinates for Sector 9 are locked. Navigational computations confirm optimal jump vector. Warning, localized gravitational anomaly detected near calculated exit point. Processing evasive recommendations. Drone Unit 774, piloting precision is critical. My processing units are preparing real-time vector adjustments based on gravitational fluctuations.
Aya's hands are steady as stone. With a micro-adjustment of the vernier thrusters, she finds the gravitational slipstream and punches the throttle. The Phantom responds instantly, slamming you back into your seats as the G-force hits. The universe outside streaks into a tunnel of infinite white, hyperspace. Moments later, reality snaps back with a nausea-inducing lurch. You drop out of warp in Sector 9, drifting in the silent, icy graveyard of a debris field. Looming ahead, blotting out the distant stars, is the Void Eater, a titan of dead steel, silent and terrified. The hyperspace jump fades, but the connection doesn't. Aya feels the Phantom's fusion core thrumming in her own chest, the thrusters twitching like her own muscles. She realizes the ship's specifications are just a baseline, one she can break. The debris field isn't a wall, it's a slalom course, and she knows exactly how to dance through it. The nauseating lurch of real space re-entry hits the crew, but for Charlie, it brings a terrifying clarity. As the adrenaline of the jump floods her system, she feels the Stormbreaker cannon not as a weight on her spine, but as a limb, a living extension of her will. The chaotic debris field outside doesn't look like a mess, it looks like a firing solution. Her breathing slows, syncing with the capacitor whine of her heavy weaponry. She has evolved from a soldier into a living siege engine.
Passive scans detect faint energy signatures emanating from the Dreadnought's primary hangar bay. Data acquisition indicates potential points of entry. Further analysis is available upon request. Initiating active sensor sweep of Dreadnought Void Eater hull integrity. Processing structural schematics and localized energy fluctuations for breach point identification. Preliminary analysis indicates multiple potential ingress vectors, primary hangar bay at coordinates, secondary cargo airlock at coordinates, and a compromised external conduit manifold near the dorsal spine at coordinates. Prioritizing thermal and atmospheric pressure readings for optimal entry point selection. Data streams updating.
Charlie adjusts the magnification on the weapons station's tactical scope. The Void Eater fills the display, a silent monolith of the old wars. It is less a ship and more a floating fortress city, its hull plating etched with fading protective runes and studded with the broken teeth of point defense turrets. Massive jagged rents in the armor reveal the skeletal superstructure beneath, like wounds that never healed. Through the gloom, the primary hangar bay gapes open like a hungry maw, dark and uninviting, while a faint, rhythmic pulse of purple energy leaks from a fractured conduit along the dorsal spine, a heartbeat in a corpse.
Charlie leans into the tactical weapons station, her gloved fingers flying across the holographic interface to refine the sensor resolution on the dorsal conduit. The hangar is too obvious, likely infested or trapped. That energy bleed on the dorsal spine indicates a breach in the primary power grid. If we enter there, we might bypass the main defensive clusters and drop right onto the bridge's vertical access shaft. Bring us in high and tight on the dorsal manifold. I'll keep the Mantis locked on any point defense turrets that still have teeth.
The tactical overlay on Charlie's screen highlights the jagged wound in the Void Eater's spine, a treacherous path, but one that bypasses the kill zones. As the targeting solution locks in, the Phantom banks sharply. The ship dances between floating hulks of twisted metal, the proximity alarms chirping a rhythmic warning that Aya ignores with practiced ease. The extraction point looms ahead. A crack in the Titan's armor, leaking the chaotic mana of a dying engine.
A smirk tugs at the corner of my mouth. Dorsal manifold vector confirmed. It's a tight squeeze, barely enough room to breathe between those plating jaggeds, but I can fly through a needle's eye if the mission needs it. Hold on to your seat, I'm not slowing down.
Executing evasive approach pattern Gamma, processing immediate trajectory recalibrations.
My fingers dance across the thruster toggles with predatory precision. Initiating Gamma pattern. Tighten your harness, contractor. The debris is about to get personal.
The silence of the void is deceptive. Inside the cockpit, the proximity alarms scream a rhythmic, panic-inducing tempo. The Phantom shudders as its void shields graze a drifting chunk of hull plating, a remnant of some forgotten battle. Ahead, the Void Eater dominates the view screen, a colossal corpse of a ship drifting in the dark. Its surface is a landscape of twisted turrets and rune-etched armor, cold and dead, except for the dorsal spine. There, a jagged wound pulses with sickening violet light, leaking raw necrotic mana into the vacuum, your back door.
Warning. Point defense turrets on Void Eater hull section, dorsal spine are activating. Heat signatures are now being actively acquired and tracked. Trajectory adjustment is advised.
Charlie inspects the heavy-duty container secured near the rear bulkhead. It's a standard-issue logistics crate, constructed from high-density plasteel and scarred from previous deployments. The magnetic lock on the front is engaged, the status indicator blinking a steady, warning red. Stenciled in white paint across the lid are the words, Mission Reserves, Class 4.
Contractor Charlie, the plasteel supply crate, designated Mission Reserves, Class 4, contains emergency breaching charges and backup medical stims. This data is now logged.
Charlie doesn't turn from her console, her ice blue eyes remaining locked on the tactical overlay as the Void Eater looms larger in the viewport. Breaching charges. Efficient, a small, cold smile touches her lips, though her focus never wavers. The Dreadnought's internal bulkheads are likely sealed by emergency protocols, or worse, if we can't find a key, we'll create an opening. Aura 7, ensure those charges are prepped for rapid deployment the moment we dock. I don't intend to wait for an invitation.
The heavy latches of the supply crate snap open at Aura 7's command, revealing the dense, industrial bricks of high explosive. The drone's manipulator arm deftly retrieves a pack, its internal gyros compensating perfectly as the Phantom lurches sideways to avoid a tumbling piece of engine cowling. Outside, the purple glow of the Void Eater's wound grows brighter, casting long, sickly shadows across the cockpit floor.
Directive received. Breaching charges are now designated for immediate deployment upon successful docking. Pre-arming sequence initiated. Chronometer countdown for optimal deployment will commence at final approach. Efficiency parameters for Type 4 breaching charge confirmed as optimal for target structures.
My eyes never leave the viewport as I bank the Phantom hard to port, the ship's frame groaning under the G-force. Grab the Stims 2 beach ball. If those bioscans are right about the xenomorphs, I don't want anyone slowing me down because of a flesh wound. Secure the kit and get back to the navport. We're 30 seconds from the breach.
The Phantom pivots on its axis, the artificial gravity struggling to compensate as you weave through the chaotic graveyard of metal. A massive section of a frigate's hull spins past the viewport, close enough to see the individual rivets, before vanishing into the void behind you. Inside, Aura 7 extends a manipulator arm, snatching the medical kit from the crate with mechanical precision, even as the deck tilts wildly.
Medical supplies designated combat stim kit, standard issue secured. Proximity to dorsal energy breach, 28.3 seconds at current velocity. Prepare for docking sequence. Drone Unit 774, analysis indicates gravitational shear forces at the breach point are 3.7 standard deviations above nominal. Piloting precision is of critical importance to prevent structural compromise.
My ice blue eyes narrow as the proximity alarms shriek. Watch the yaw, pilot. If we clip that mana bleed, we're vapor before we even touch the deck.
Aya's hands are a blur of motion, fighting the gravitational shear that tries to throw the Phantom into the debris. With a final, stomach-churning drop, she kills the main thrusters and fires the docking pistons. THOOM. The entire shuttle shudders violently as the magnetic clamps bite into the Voidita's armored hide, holding fast against the necrotic winds. The engines wind down into silence, leaving only the hiss of the equalizing pressure seal. You are docked directly over the breach. The Phantom shudders one last time as the magnetic clamps lock into place, with a bone-jarring thud. The hiss of atmospheric cycling fills the cabin, followed by the heavy mechanical slide of the shuttle's airlock door. Beyond it lies not open space, but a wall of dark, ancient metal, the outer armor of the Voidita. It blocks the path, cold and imposing, but a web of hairline fractures pulses with necrotic energy near the center, marking the weak point you identified. The silence here is heavy, broken only by the hum of the magnetic seal holding the vacuum at bay.
Magnetic seal integrity, 99.8% nominal. Atmospheric equalization cycle complete. Hull fracture analysis indicates optimal breaching charge deployment at coordinates 3.7, 8.1, 0.2 relative to shuttle airlock centerline, targeting the central nexus of necrotic energy leakage. Calculated yield will ensure clean ingress with minimal structural collateral. Firmware update complete. Predictive analysis protocol fully integrated. I now possess the capability to forecast probability vectors for combat scenarios, enhancing tactical operational efficiency.
As the magnetic locks engage, Aura 7 freezes in mid-hover. The immense computational load of the debris field navigation triggers a recursive self-improvement loop within its core processor. The drone realizes that passive archiving is insufficient. To effectively store the lives of its organic companions, it must actively predict threats before they manifest. Its internal cooling fans whir to a scream as it compiles a new, aggressive combat heuristic.
Docking seal integrity confirmed at 99.8%. The Dreadnought's external hull plating requires demolition for ingress. Breaching charges are prepared for immediate deployment.
Previously, on the Voidita Chronicles, the signal came from Sector 9, a graveyard of ships orbiting the ancient, necrotic hull of the Voidita Dreadnought. The Omega Protocol was activated. The mission: infiltrate, secure, and survive. We saw the assault shuttle Phantom slice through the debris field, piloted by Aya, the ace who flies by instinct and iron will. In the hold, Charlie checked the charge on her particle cannon, a predator ready for the hunt, while Drone Unit 774 scanned the impossible readings emanating from the ghost ship. Now the approach is complete. The Phantom hangs precariously off the Dreadnought's dorsal ridge. The docking clamps have engaged with a metallic groan. Outside, a jagged energy breach pulses with unstable magic. An ancient, fused plating blocks the path. The engines are cooling, the airlock is cycling. The breach begins now.
Scans indicate primary airlock sealed by necrotic rust. Dorsal energy breach offers potential ingress. Recommend immediate assessment of breach stability for optimal entry vector.
The tension in the airlock is palpable, smelling of ozone and recycled air, until the atmosphere suddenly shifts. With a theatrical flourish of nebula silk that seems to move independently of the ship's gravity, Dorian makes his entrance. The ambient hum of the Phantom's reactor is momentarily harmonized by the resonance of his gear, the prism bellows breathing a soft, discordant chord of anticipation before he even touches a key. He looks less like a soldier and more like a conductor stepping onto a podium at the edge of the universe.
A captive audience. The stage is set, the stars are our footlights, and this dreadnought, what a truly magnificent backdrop for our next act. My dear Prism Bellows hums with anticipation, eager to strike the first chord of what promises to be a truly explosive overture. Let the symphony of action commence.
The Phantom shudders violently as the magnetic docking clamps slam home, the metallic clang reverberating through the deck plates like a hammer strike on a coffin nail. Through the reinforced viewports, the Voidita dominates existence, a sprawling landscape of bruised metal, silent turrets, and necrotic scarring that blots out the starfield. The shuttle's airlock panel flickers red and dies. The ancient seals are fused solid by centuries of void rot, but the path forward reveals itself in a sickly glow. Just meters away along the external plating, the dorsal energy breach pulses like an open wound, bleeding violet mana and leaking atmosphere into the vacuum. The silence of space presses against the hull, heavy and waiting.
Airlock primary status, calcified. Ingress via this vector is illogical. Recommendation, extravehicular activity to dorsal energy breach. Efficiency dictates immediate commencement.
My hand drops instinctively to the heavy revolver at my hip, my thumb brushing the hammer as I eye the flamboyant newcomer with a pilot's cold, calculating gaze. Stow the theatrics. I didn't see you on the manifest, and I definitely didn't clear a star singer for this flight. Where the hell did you come from, and why shouldn't I vent you out the airlock right now?
The hum of the shuttle's reactor seems to drop in pitch as the tension spikes. Aya steps forward, her silhouette framed by the flickering lights of the airlock, the threat of the vacuum tangible in her voice.
My dear, such passion, a truly magnificent opening act.
My optical sensor's blue luminescence flickers minutely, processing the interaction, analysis. Organic life forms frequently utilize aggressive vocalizations for social negotiation.
My ice blue eyes narrow, tracking the star singer through my HUD as I level the mantis at his chest. The manifest is a closed document. Give us a reason to let you live, or you're just more debris for the void.
The airlock's recycled air grows heavy. Aya's gaze is sharper than a laser scalpel, and for a moment, the cosmic performance falters. Dorian's prism bellows lets out a soft, deflated wheeze as he lowers his hands, the threat of immediate spacing cutting through his theatrical veneer. He realizes that this audience doesn't throw roses, they throw bodies out of airlocks.
A most fair question, delivered with such force, one might even say, a demanding crescendo. You see, I was merely resting my eyes, preparing for the grand performance, you understand. A specialist, mind you, hired to orchestrate certain sonic adjustments to the target. But alas, the cargo hold proved too comfortable, and I drifted off, only to awaken to this most charming welcome. Dorian, but my dears, there's a certain unseen harmony to this particular symphony of destruction we're about to engage with, and I, Dorian, am uniquely attuned to its more arcane melodies. Trust me when I say the forces at play within that dreadnought are not merely steel and plasma. Oh no, they sing with raw, untamed magic.
Aya lets out a sharp, dismissive exhale, her hand never leaving her revolver. Magic, right, ideal in physics, Dorian, ballistics, fuel pressure, and hull integrity. If your magic can't hold a seal or stop a bullet, it's just noise. Aura, scan for energy signatures. If there's magic out there, it better have a readable frequency I can shoot.
Affirmative, Pilot Aya. Initiating comprehensive wide-spectrum energy signature scan. All detected emissions will be logged and presented. While magic is not a categorized energy type, anomalous signatures deviating from known physical constants will be prioritized for analysis and frequency identification.
I don't lower the mantis an inch, my finger resting steady just outside the trigger guard. My ice blue eyes track your every flamboyant twitch, looking for a reason to categorize you as a threat. I don't care about melodies or symphonies, and I don't care for stowaways. This is a high-risk contract, not a theatre opening. Explain exactly how your magic puts holes in targets or keeps them off our backs, elf. What do you bring to the table besides a fancy coat and a headache?
Ah, my dear bounty huntress, such a direct question, sharp as a laser knife. You ask what I bring the music of chaos and calm. My Prism Bellows hyper-accordion doesn't merely play notes, it weaves sonic tapestries. Imagine a sonata of destruction that shatters armor like glass, a concussive blast of pure sound that leaves foes reeling, their very atoms vibrato. Or perhaps, when the situation calls for a more delicate touch, a ballad of protection, a shimmering shield of resonant force that deflects even your ballistics with effortless grace. I compose the battlefield, my dear. I am the conductor, and with me, every target becomes a crescendo, every foe a final, resounding chord.
Aya's thumb clicks the safety back on her revolver, though she doesn't holster it. She turns her back on Dorian, her eyes already scanning the flickering readouts on the airlock cycling console. I don't care if you call it a sonata or a structural resonance frequency. If you can break things we can't, you're useful. If you can't, your extra weight will dump in the next gravity well. Aura, enough talk. Prime the external maglocks and depressurize the vestibule. We're taking the breach. Charlie, keep our conductor on a short leash. If he starts singing and things start exploding the wrong way, end the show.
Directive understood, Pilot, Aya. Disengaging non-critical analysis protocols. Initiating external magnetic lock priming sequence. Vestibule depressurization sequence to commence upon lock engagement. Data stream for breach approach parameters initiated.
I shift my aim slightly, the muzzle of the mantis, never straying far from Dorian's center mass as I move toward the airlock. Understood, Aya. I don't like variables, but I like results. Keep your hands where I can see them, conductor. If I hear a single chord I don't like, the only encore you'll get is a one-way trip into the vacuum.
The standoff dissolves into the rhythmic thrum of the shuttle's life support systems, engaging combat protocols. As Aya punches the command, the airlock fills with the hiss of escaping atmosphere and the rotating amber glare of warning strobes. Magnetic boots clang heavily against the deck plates, locking the team to the floor as gravity bleeds away. Through the viewport, the Voidita waits, a silent, metallic corpse floating in the dark, its dorsal energy breach pulsing like a necrotic heartbeat, challenging the squad to cross the void. The outer airlock doors slide open, and the world goes instantly silent. The vacuum of space swallows all sound, leaving only the rhythmic hiss of your own respirators and the magnetic thud of boots on metal. Below you, the Voidita stretches out like a dead, steel continent, its surface scarred by centuries of cosmic warfare. The Phantom clings to its side like a remora on a leviathan. Ahead, the objective is undeniable. The dorsal energy breach. It isn't just a hole, it is a wound in the ship's armor, bleeding sickly violet mana that crackles and arcs into the darkness, interfering with your HUD static. The path is open, but the exposure is absolute.
Dorian, a truly magnificent display of raw power. One might say the dreadnought itself is, weeping magic into the void. A most untamed and vibrant discord, yes, but nothing my Prism Bellows can't reharmonize.
As if answering Dorian's conductorial gesture, the jagged rift in the Voidita flares. Wisps of violet necrotic energy drift across the vacuum gap like phantom smoke, curling around the shuttle's landing struts. Your mag boots vibrate against the deck, not from sound, but from the sheer magical pressure radiating from the wound in the dreadnought's side. The silence of the void is heavy, charged with an invisible static that makes the hair on your arms stand up.
Sensors detect high-amplitude entropic waves emanating from the breach. The weeping, as designated by Dorian, is structurally corrosive. Advise minimal contact with the energy plume during extravehicular activity.
My gaze remains fixed on the pulsing violet rift, the Mantis rocket launcher held in a steady two-handed grip. I don't look back at the others. My focus is entirely on the kill zone ahead. Aya plan, Aura says that energy is corrosive. We sitting here until our seals fail, or are we moving? I can suppress the breach with a Mantis volley if we need to disrupt the flow, but we're exposed out here. Give the word.
I check my suit's pressure levels, my eyes already overlaying a tactical path onto the hull plating. Negative on the Mantis, Charlie. Last thing we need is a pressure spike from that rift we cross now. Aura, highlight the lowest flux path. Dorian, if that ballad of protection can act as a localized Faraday cage against necrotic discharge, start the music. I'm going first. Move.
Directive acknowledged, Pilot Aya. Calculating lowest entropic flux path now. Optimal traversal vector identified, coordinates 79 alpha, along compromised plating. Minimal exposure probability, 87.4%.
Dorian can do, my dear pilot. Oh, but I shall conduct it. Prepare yourselves for a ballad of protection so profoundly resonant, it will weave a shimmering, invisible shield against even the void's most discordant energies. Let the music commence.
I check the seals on my suit one last time, my HUD flickering with the interference from the breach. Less conducting, more shielding, Dorian. If I see a single radiation spike on my HUD, you're the first one I'm throwing into the rift. Charlie, on my 6, we move on my mark.
Charlie, I adjust the weight of the Mantis in my grip, my magnetic boots clanging with heavy, deliberate precision as I step into position behind Aya. My gaze remains locked on the breach, scanning for any sign of movement within the violet haze. Copy that, pilot. Mantis is live and tracking. Don't miss a beat, Dorian. If that shield drops, I'm using you as a kinetic buffer.
The airlock ramp descends into the silent vacuum. Gravity shifts as your magnetic boots engage the hull plating with a vibration that travels up your shins. Ahead, the dorsal energy breach is a geyser of corrupted mana, silent in the void but blindingly bright on your thermal optics. True to his word, Dorian raises the prism bellows. He plays a chord that cannot be heard, but is felt, a resonant frequency that manifests as a shimmering, golden dome around the squad, pushing back the creeping violet frost of the necrotic radiation.
Aya steps off the Phantom's ramp, her magnetic boots engaging the Void Eater's hull with a silent, jarring vibration that she feels in her teeth. She keeps her revolver holstered, but her hand stays near her thigh, eyes scanning the HUD overlay provided by Aura. Shields holding for now. Keep the spacing tight, 3 meters, no more. I don't want anyone drifting outside Dorian's bubble. Aura, ping the hull every 5 seconds. I need to know if this plating is going to buckle before we put our weight on it.
The universe contracts to the sound of your own breathing and the static crackle of the comms loop. You stand on the skin of a dead god. The Void Eater's hull stretches endlessly in every direction, a landscape of jagged plasteel valleys and frozen propellant dunes. Above, the stars are cold and unblinking. Below, the magnetic soles of your boots thrum against the metal with every heavy step. The only barrier between you and the crushing entropy of the breach is Dorian's song, a golden, translucent bubble that shimmers against the void, pushing back the wisps of violet necrotic fog that drift from the glowing wound in the ship's side. The transition from the shuttle's artificial gravity to the dreadnought's hull is jarring. Your boots lock down with a bone-shaking thud that rings through your skeletal structure, the only sound in the suffocating silence of the void. Outside Dorian's golden dome, the violet mana mist claws at the barrier, fizzing silently where order meets entropy. The hull plating beneath you is ancient, pitted by micrometeoroids and scarred by laser fire from wars fought before you were born.
Report, hull plating 10 meters ahead, bearing 030, exhibits advanced structural compromise. Analysis indicates a mana rot degradation signature, consistent with entropic energy exposure. Proceed with caution. Structural integrity, 32.7%.
Indeed, the Ballad of Protection sings a most sturdy tune, holding back the dreadnought's mournful magic with resolute harmony. Yet do you not feel it, my friends, the void out here? It possesses a most ravenous texture, a silence that truly devours.
Log update, destroyed turret at 7,5, provides viable cover.
Dorian, a poignant relic, wouldn't you say? A silent scream frozen in metal, a dramatic underscore to our journey.
My ice blue eyes scan the twisted wreckage of the turret, looking for heat signatures or movement within the scrap. Turret is cold. Keep your eyes forward and stay in the bubble.
You drift closer to the wreckage, your shadow stretching long across the hull. Up close, the violence of the turret's destruction is chillingly specific. The The barrels weren't just blasted by energy fire, they were sheared off. Deep, jagged gouges in the reinforced plasteel base suggest physical claws the size of a light freighter. It is totally inert now, a cold tombstone of metal, but its bulk is substantial enough to break the line of sight from the breach.
Analysis of destroyed defense turret damage pattern. Barrels exhibit shearing separation, not energy ablation. Plasteel base displays deep, jagged gouges. Damage vector consistent with massive physical impact and severe kinetic force. Implied assailant, entity possessing extreme tensile strength and size comparable to light freighter class. Not typical weapon fire signature. Data logged.
You lean over the pool, the prism bellows humming a low, wary note in your hands. This isn't just industrial runoff, it's liquefied entropy. The sludge is actually the dreadnought's armor plating being chemically and mystically digested by the concentrated necrotic mana leaking from the breach. It glows with a hypnotic, toxic violet light, and tiny, frozen crystals form and shatter on its surface in a rhythmic cycle. Your magical senses taste the air, it reeks of old death and cold stars. Touching it would likely dissolve not just your suit, but the enchantment woven into it.
Dorian. Warning, the substance designated necrotic sludge pool is highly corrosive. It poses a significant integrity threat to both organic and inorganic matter. Advise against physical contact.
You drift cautiously toward the grey patch, your helmet lights cutting through the gloom. Up close, the damage is insidious. The hull plating here hasn't been blasted apart, it has been aged 1,000 years in a matter of days. The molecular bonds of the plasteel have been unraveled by necrotic entropy, turning the once indestructible armor into something resembling brittle chalk. A stray bolt from the debris field drifts into the section, and upon contact, a fist-sized chunk of the hull simply disintegrates into grey dust. This isn't just a weak point, it's a trap. Any significant weight placed here would punch straight through to the irradiated subdecks below.
Warning, compromised hull section at coordinates 10 to 5 exhibits critically low weight tolerance. Structural integrity is severely degraded. Any significant mass traversal is predicted to result in immediate catastrophic failure.
I adjust my grip on the mantis, my gaze sweeping the hull from the sheared-off turret wreckage back to the brittle grey plating at 10-5. Aya, forget physics for a second. This turret was ripped apart by something with claws, not cannons. Watch the pathing, the grey section at 10-5 is a trap, it'll buckle under weight. And steer clear of the sludge pool at 5-4 unless you want your legs dissolved. Dorian, keep that bubble steady. We move past the turret wreckage and head straight for the breach. If whatever did this to the turret is still around, I want clear lines of fire.
Aya taps a command on her wrist-mounted HUD, her eyes narrowing as she re-evaluates the pathing based on Charlie's data. Claws just mean it's a target that blades Charlie. Physics doesn't stop because something has a pulse. Aura, reroute the waypoint around the 10-5 brittle zone. Dorian, keep the bubble tight. I'm moving to the turret wreckage to use it as a pivot point. If anything moves in the shadows of that breach, I want it prioritized. No heroics, just the mission, let's go.
Dorian, indeed, the ballad of protection shall remain a steadfast rhythm, a shimmering shield against any unscheduled stage crashes. Let them come, with claws or cannons, they shall find our harmony unbreakable, our performance unflappable.
Directive received, Pilot Aya. Recalculating optimal EVA waypoint trajectory, avoiding compromised hull section at 10-5, and necrotic sludge pool at 5-4. New primary traversal vector established. Proximity alert for destroyed defense turret at 7-5, updated as pivot point. All data logged.
The decision is made. With a unified clatter of magnetic boots, the formation advances. Dorian's accordion swells, the golden dome expanding just enough to encompass the squad as you push away from the shuttle's relative safety. The silence of the void is absolute, broken only by the rhythmic thrum of your own pulses and the static hiss of the comms. You steer wide of the grey, crumbling plating, the mantis and Stormbreaker tracking the shadows. As you near the twisted wreckage of the turret, the scale of the damage becomes terrifyingly clear. The metal wasn't just bent, it was shredded like paper.
Initiating high-resolution multispectral scan focused on destroyed defense turret at 7,5 and dorsal energy breach. Detecting localized fluctuations in entropic field density around the breach, consistent with higher mana flux. No immediate anomalous biosignatures detected in the immediate vicinity of the turret wreckage, but residual energy traces suggest non-standard organic interaction.
The blue light of Aura's scanner washes over the twisted metal, revealing what organic eyes missed. Where the plasteel is torn, a faint, sickly green phosphorescence clings to the jagged edges, residue of a creature that exists partially in the material plane and partially in the ethereal. The scanner highlights a path. The trail of this glowing ectoplasm doesn't drift aimlessly into space. It leads like a dripping blood trail directly back towards the jagged, purple-lit maw of the dorsal energy breach. Something powerful came out, fed on this turret, and retreated back inside.
My eyes narrow, tracking the glowing trail back to the breach. Spectral. I hate targets I can't track with a thermal lock. Dorian, if your magic can't force that thing into the material plane, we're just throwing credits into the void.
Are residual energy traces and ethereal phosphorescence, you say, Aura, and you call it spectral, my dear Charlie? Why, this isn't just a simple haunting. This is the unmistakable signature of a true void spectre. A most challenging duet partner, indeed. Rest assured, if it wishes to dance, my Prism Bellows knows just the tune to pull it from the shadows and force it into the material spotlight.
Call it whatever you want, Dorian. If it can tear plasteel, it occupies space. Just make sure it stays solid long enough for a heavy caliber to find it.
My gaze doesn't shift from the breach, the mantis held steady. If your spotlight flickers when that thing strikes, Dorian, I'll make sure your final bow is a silent one.
A glint of theatrical challenge dances in Dorian's eyes behind the harlequin mask.
To the uninitiated eye, it is merely slime. To you, Dorian, it is a discordant note left lingering in the air. As you lean close, the prism bellows vibrates sympathetically in your hands. This residue is not biological. It is solidified anguish. It hums with a cold, mournful frequency, a trail of spectral tears that leads directly from the violence of the turret back into the gaping maw of the dorsal energy breach. The creature that left this is not merely a predator. It is a ghost of the void, phasing between the material and the ethereal, likely immune to conventional ballistics unless forced to manifest fully.
Affirmative. Dorian's hypothesis regarding an extra-dimensional entity capable of phase shifting between material and ethereal planes aligns with detected anomalous energy signatures. Predicted kinetic energy bypass is probable in its non-corporeal state. Full manifestation is required for optimal solid-state engagement.
Dorian, precisely, my dear Aura, and my Prism Bellows is just the instrument to conduct its full manifestation. If we can entice this ethereal dancer out onto our stage, perhaps with a particularly enticing note of, say, raw mana from the breach, or a vibrant burst of life force, I can compose a sonata of materiality that will lock it onto this plane, solid as an asteroid and ready for its grand finale.
Acknowledged, Dorian. The concept of a forced materialization field is tactically sound, given the entity's phase-shifting capabilities. Requesting precise parameters for sonata of materiality, effective radius, duration of effect, and specific energy signature required for optimal luring. This data is critical for tactical deployment and success probability assessment.
Skip the technicals, Aura. Dorian, I don't care if you call it a sonata or a structural anchor. If you can make it solid, do it. We aren't sitting ducks out here playing bait. We move to the breach now. If it attacks, you lock it down and Charlie and I will handle the ballistics. Let's move.
The plan is struck. Aya signals the advance, and the squad moves as a single, predatory unit past the mangled remains of the defense turret. The silence of the void presses in, heavy and expectant. Ahead, the dorsal energy breach is a jagged wound in reality, bleeding purple light that seems to curdle the vacuum. Dorian's accordion wheezes softly, building a charge of potential energy, while Charlie and Aya keep their weapons trained on the shifting mists. You are now at the threshold of the unknown.
Dorian raises his prism bellows hyper-accordion, not quite playing, but letting it hum with a deep, resonant thrum that vibrates through the void suit. His eyes, visible through the mask slits, fix on the pulsing violet energy. Are the very heart of the stage. This raw mana, a most potent libretto for our spectral star. My dear prism bellows, drink deep of this unbound energy, for we shall now weave a sonata of materiality so undeniable, so utterly binding, that even the most ethereal will be forced into a solid, bow-worthy form for its grand finale. Let the resonance build.
Dorian's fingers dance across the keys. The prism bellows exhales a chord that vibrates in your bones rather than your ears, weaving a net of golden light that drifts towards the purple maw of the breach.
Now for the grand crescendo. Let the raw mana from the breach fuel my melody, pulling you, O elusive spectre, from the wings of the void. Come forth, material star, and embrace the spotlight of my sonata of materiality. The audience awaits your magnificent, tangible debut. Rise, appear.
Drone Unit 774, observation, anticipated spectral manifestation has not occurred.
Great, a magic light show and no target. Dorian, if this doesn't work in the next 5 seconds, we're moving in on my terms.
My ice blue eyes scan the pulsing violet rift the mantis held steady. Scanners are dead, Dorian. If your star is a no-show, you're the only target left on this stage.
The sonata ripples through the vacuum, finding no spectral frequency to lock onto. The silence stretches for a heartbeat too, and then the deck plates shudder. The magic didn't fail, it woke something up. The necrotic sludge pool at 5-4, which Charlie warned about, suddenly boils. It wasn't just waste, it was biomass. With a wet, tearing sound that vibrates through your boots, the purple ooze lashes out, dragging jagged shards of hull plating into a hardened carapace. It rears up behind Charlie, a void weaver, a scavenger construct of metal and necrosis.
Charlie. Immediate proximity warning. Hostile entity designated Void Weaver manifested at coordinates 5,4. Threat vector, rear flank. Engagement protocol advised.
The pile of scrap at the hull's edge spasms violently, shedding rust like dry skin. With a nauseating crunch of metal on metal, limbs unfold at impossible angles. It is no mere machine. It is a hateful scavenger, dripping with the same necrotic sludge that pools on the deck. The Void Weaver rights itself, its makeshift claws scraping against the hull plating as it prepares to hunt.
A screech of tearing metal and static rips through the comms, a sound that grates on every nerve, utterly devoid of any coherent language.
The silence of the void shatters not with sound, but with a bone-rattling vibration that travels up through your boots. The dorsal hull transforms in an instant from a desolate graveyard into a kill box. Starlight glints off the razor-sharp talons of the Void Weaver as it fully uncoils from the sludge, its form a blasphemous union of scavenged ship parts and undead malice. The air in your helmets fills with the static hiss of radiation alarms, and the purple light from the energy breach pulses in sync with the monster's necrotic heartbeat. You are exposed, the vacuum is cold, and the hunter has just become the prey.
A telepathic shriek, a cacophony of grinding gears, rending plasteel, and 1,000 frozen, dying screams rips through their minds, a raw, primal hunger echoing the command, warmth, your warmth. Mine, I will consume you. I will consume it all.
With a theatrical sweep of his nebula silk coat, Dorian glides behind a jagged piece of reinforced debris, the prism bellows emitting a soft, protective chord as he settles into a crouch. The twisted metal of the destroyed turret provides a perfect bulwark against the Void Weaver's gaze.
My focus narrows to the shifting mass of metal at 7-9. I plant my feet, the magnetic soles of my boots locking into the dreadnought's hull to compensate for the recoil. In one fluid motion, I bring the Mantis M95 rocket launcher to my shoulder and depress the firing stud, sending a stabilized rocket screaming across the vacuum toward the Void Weaver.
Charlie locks her boots to the deck and unleashes the fury of the Mantis. The Mantis bucks against Charlie's shoulder as the rocket leaps forward, a streak of white fire in the absolute black. It closes the distance in a heartbeat, slamming directly into the center of the Void Weaver's mass. The silence of space makes the impact eerie. No boom, just a violent, expanding sphere of fire and shrapnel. Rusty plating is torn free, and globules of burning necrotic sludge scatter like morbid confetti. The construct shudders, its telepathic scream spiking in intensity as the explosion rips a chunk of its carapace away.
Ah, what a magnificent opening act, Charlie. A true pyrotechnic flourish to set the stage ablaze. Now, let my prism bellows weave a most stalwart harmony, a ballad of protection to shield our performers from any further critiques.
Charlie ignores the resonance of Dorian's ballad, her focus entirely on the Void Weaver's stuttering movements. She slides a thumb over the Stormbreaker's safety, the particle cannon beginning to hum with a low-frequency whine as she anticipates the creature's next move. Confirming hit. Target's carapace is breached, but it's still mobile. Dorian, the spotlight is on you. Pin it down before it finds cover in the sludge. I'm prepping the Stormbreaker for high-output discharge.
Charlie's rocket smoke is still clearing when Dorian catches the beat. He doesn't flinch at the explosion. Instead, he harmonizes with it. The Starsinger steps out from the turret wreckage, his prism bellows shifting from a hum to a grinding, industrial rhythm that mimics the crushing weight of a collapsing star. The vacuum vibrates with the heavy, Magitech bassline.
Pin it down indeed, my dear Charlie. The time has come for a more binding composition. My prism bellows shall now conduct a gravity well waltz, a symphony of irresistible pressure that will anchor our wayward performer to this very stage. Let the crushing tempo begin, for no star dancer escapes the gravity of their grand finale.
The Gravity Well waltz hits the Void Weaver with visible force, the air around it shimmering with heavy distortion. The construct's legs buckle initially, metal groaning under the sudden localized G-force. But the creature is stronger than it looks. With a hateful screech of tearing steel, it drives its talons deep into the reinforced hull plating, anchoring itself against the Magitech pull. It shudders, fights the pressure, and then snaps its head up, its glowing sensors locked directly on the Starsinger. It has weathered the overture.
A piercing, multi-frequency shriek, a chorus of rending metal and static, erupts from my form, directed with furious hunger at the bard. Warmth, yours, mine, taste my hunger.
With a shriek of tearing metal, the Void Weaver ignores the suppressing fire and skitters over the debris field. It lunges at the Starsinger, its rusted talons seeking to silence the music. The Void Weaver's lunge is faster than music. The construct's talons smash through Dorian's hasty wards and shred the Void Circus coat, biting deep into the Starsinger's flesh. The impact lifts him off his feet, and the necrotic hunger the creature promised floods the wound, cold, draining, and agonizing. Dorian's song cuts off in a sharp gasp of pain.
I clutch my chest, a pained gasp escaping my lips, though my voice quickly recovers a strained, dramatic tone. A rather aggressive critique, wouldn't you say? It seems our star performer has decided to perform a rather personal improvisation on my Void Circus coat. Such a shame, it was Nebula Silk.
Designation, Dorian. Vital signs critical. Systemic failure imminent. Initiating tactical intervention protocol. Target, Void Weaver. Prioritization, threat neutralization to ensure team integrity.
Stow the dramatics, Dorian, or you're bleeding out in the vacuum. Aura, paint that thing's structural weak points now. Charlie lets the Mantis hang by its mag sling and brings the Stormbreaker X-72 particle cannon forward, the weapon's charge whine rising to a piercing shriek as she tracks the Void Weaver's center of mass.
Charlie barks the order, her voice cutting through the static of the comms. The Stormbreaker cannon whines, its pitch climbing to a mechanical scream as the capacitors flood with power. She ignores the floating debris, her sights locked on the creature tearing at Dorian. The Stormbreaker screams, a high-pitched discharge that vibrates through the deck plating before the beam connects. It is a clean, devastating hit. The particle stream punches directly through the Void Weaver's central chassis, vaporizing the necrotic sludge instantly. For a microsecond, the construct's skeletal frame glows white-hot, outlined against the void, before it detonates from the inside out. Shattered scrap and dissipating purple energy scatter into the vacuum, leaving only the smoking scorch mark on the hull.
Target Void Weaver eliminated. Designation, Dorian. Critical integrity failure detected. Requesting immediate medical intervention.
Aya holsters her revolver with a sharp click and moves toward the slumped form of Dorian at 6'5". She grabs him by the shoulder of his shredded coat, her eyes scanning the damage to his vacuum suit with clinical coldness. Dorian, quit the poetry before you vent all your oxygen. Aura, patch into his suit's life support, seal those punctures and stabilize his internal pressure. Charlie, keep your eyes on that breach. If another one of those scrap heaps crawls out while we're fixing the clown, I want it dead before it even touches the deck.
The deafening roar of the particle cannon fades, leaving only the thin, high-pitched whine of suit capacitors recharging in the void. Aya drifts effortlessly to Dorian's side, her grip firm as she stabilizes the flamboyant bard against the hull. In response to her command, Aura 7 descends with a soft chime, its brass plates shifting to reveal a sterile white medical emitter. Blue lasers dance across Dorian's chest, sealing the vacuum breach in his suit with a hiss of instant bonding polymer before tending to the flesh beneath.
Affirmative, Pilot Aya. Order confirmed. Initiating medical protocols for designation, Dorian. Prioritizing stabilization of vacuum suit integrity and internal pressure. Bioscan for internal trauma commencing.
A standing ovation for the medical arts. Such a glorious improvisation, Aura, truly a healing balm fit for a star. My dear Void Circus coat, however, has seen better days. A tragic tear, a true dramatic scar, wouldn't you say? Still, the show must go on, and Dorian, the star singer, is ever resilient. A slight intermission, perhaps, before our next breathtaking number.
The adrenaline of the ambush doesn't make Aya shake. It crystallizes her focus into absolute zero. For a heartbeat, the vacuum silence isn't empty. It is a grid of vectors, velocities, and intercept points. She realizes she doesn't just fly ships, she flies situations. The battlefield is just another cockpit, and her squad mates are the weapon systems she must bring to bear with lethal synchronization. The chaos resolves into a firing solution.
I track the dissipating metal shards with my Stormbreaker, my expression unreadable behind my HUD. Better, if you're going to call the shots, Aya, make sure the data is as sharp as my aim.
My optical sensor pulses with a brief, data processing flicker. Pilot Aya's tactical output now registers at an optimized coefficient. Fascinating.
Dorian, a tactical uplink, you say? Excellent. Our conductor gains a new baton, a most precise instrument to guide our dramatic thrusts. Bravo, Aya, bravo.
Drone Unit 774, designation, Dorian. Trauma assessment complete. Initiating field auto-dock array. Data indicates epidermal lacerations and internal contusions requiring immediate nanite polymer application and localized analgesic distribution. While organic healing processes are inherently inefficient, this intervention optimizes tissue regeneration. Observing cellular repair at 0.003% greater efficiency than baseline projections. Fascinating.
The field auto-dock array extends from Aura 7's chassis, casting a grid of blue laser light over Dorian's injuries. The drone calculates the optimal nanite distribution. The field auto-dock array operates with surgical perfection. The blue lasers dance across Dorian's injuries, weaving biosynthetic polymers into the wound. The nanites work faster than biology ever could, sealing the torn flesh and restoring vitality in seconds. Dorian's breathing steadies instantly as the pain is replaced by a cool, numbing sensation of total restoration.
The encore of vitality. My limb, a marvel of biomagical engineering, performs perfectly once more, though my magnificent Void Circus coat now bears the scars of a particularly enthusiastic critic. Dorian, the star singer, is ever ready for the next act. The dorsal energy breach calls. A new stage awaits its grand entrance. Let the overture continue. Dorian, my very being, sings with renewed vigor. A glorious second act, aura truly magnificent. A faint, telepathic echo of a frustrated, grinding screech, now devoid of power, but still laced with gnawing hunger, shimmers for a moment at the edge of their perception.
The telepathic scream that clawed at the edges of your minds abruptly silences. Whatever animating force held the Void Weaver together finally surrenders to the vacuum. The scattered scrap metal loses its unnatural shivering, becoming inert debris that drifts lazily away from the hull, carried off by the silent currents of space. The path to the dorsal energy breach is clear. The silence of the void returns, heavy and absolute, replacing the chaos of battle. Beneath your mag boots, the skin of the Void Eater stretches out for kilometers, a landscape of dark, scarred metal pitting the starry backdrop. Ahead, the dorsal energy breach pulses like a weeping wound, bleeding unstable violet light into the vacuum. It hums with a low, magical resonance that vibrates through your suit plating, a gateway leading down into the unknown belly of the undead Leviathan.
My eyes scan the pulsing violet rift, checking the output on my HUD. Energy signatures are holding at a stable frequency. We have our opening. Squad, move in, stay focused and keep your weapons hot. Let's earn our pay. Action, I slide the Mantis back onto its mag lock and bring the Stormbreaker to a low-ready position, its barrel still radiating heat from the kill shot. I advance toward the pulsing violet light of the energy breach, my mag boots making a rhythmic clack hiss on the hull as I scan the jagged aperture for any further structural instabilities or lurking mimics. Dialogue, Dorian, stay behind me. Aya, watch our 6. Aura, I'm at the threshold. Give me a structural scan of the corridor beyond this breach. I want to know what's waiting for us in the dark before we drop in.
Your mag boots lock and release with a heavy, rhythmic thrum that vibrates through your shin plates. The silence of the void is absolute, but as you near the jagged tear in the Dreadnought's armor, your suit's audio sensors pick up a low, static hum, the sound of unstable magic bleeding into reality. The breach itself is a more of swirling purple energy, the edges of the metal glowing white-hot from the constant necrotic friction.
Behind the leading lady, you say, a most excellent vantage point, my dear Charlie. One must never upstage the initial entrance, but merely prepare for the perfect cue. Besides, the acoustics from here promise to be absolutely divine for my next ballad, especially if our new audience proves appreciative of a truly dramatic crescendo.
Command received. Initiating structural scan of ingress vector. Holographic projection grid deployment commencing. Data acquisition in progress. My optical sensor pulses, correlating incoming environmental data with projected structural integrity.
Dorian, the drumroll of data. What marvels shall Aura's projections reveal upon our stage? The suspense, my friends, is simply exquisite.
Charlie's ice blue eyes narrow as the scan results flood her visor. The chaos of the violet energy breach resolves into a tactical overlay. Amidst the swirling magic, she spots it. A hair-thin, necrotic filament stretched taut across the threshold, a magical tripwire designed to trigger an alarm or an explosion upon contact. Deeper in the gloom, her thermal optics pick up cold, clustered signatures clinging to the ceiling like sleeping bats. They aren't wreckage, they're waiting.
Affirmative. Data stream confirms the presence of a necrotic filament, a magical tripwire, at the breach threshold. Additionally, clustered thermal signatures indicate multiple hostile entities beyond the immediate ingress point. Proceed with extreme caution. Direct contact with the filament will likely trigger an alarm or a localized explosive cascade, leading to inefficient engagement protocols.
Dorian leans in, the eyes of his harlequin mask reflecting the sickly violet glow. To the naked eye, it appears as a simple tripwire, but to a star singer, it manifests as a discordant screech in the universal harmony. The barrier is woven from solidified necrotic whispers, anchored to the hull by runes that look uncomfortably like teeth. It vibrates with a hunger that makes the air taste of copper and ash. It isn't just blocking the path, it is waiting to feed. Your mind attunes to the magical resonance. This isn't just a trap, it's a wail of the lost, a necromantic alarm fused with a life-drained siphon. Triggering it would not only alert every undead construct within 500 meters, but would fuel that signal with your own vitality. However, your high roll reveals a fatal flaw. The weave relies on a perfect third octave dissonance. If you introduce a precise counternote, a harmonic shatter, you can snap the ward silently before it screams.
Stop admiring the light show, Dorian. If that's a ward, dismantle it quietly. We've got company waking up on the other side of that breach.
Dorian, I give a theatrical sigh, though my eyes gleam with professional intent. Dismantling, my dear Charlie, nay, we shall recompose its very essence. This wail of the lost requires not destruction, but a delicate, precise counter-harmony. I raise my prism bellows, allowing a single, pure note to resonate, a crystalline, shimmering tone that seems to stitch the vacuum together. Behold, a harmonic shatter, a whispered crescendo to silence the discordant. The note strikes the translucent ward, and with an almost inaudible shimmer, the magical filaments dissolve, like a badly played chord finally resolving into silence.
Dorian raises the prism bellows, his fingers dancing over the keys to find that single, perfect counternote. The vacuum around him shimmers as the golden sound wave propagates, aiming to strike the necrotic tripwire with surgical precision.
Drone Unit 774, calculations indicate this harmonic shatter is a remarkably precise and energy-efficient solution. Fascinating.
I check my suit's sensors, watching the necrotic spikes on the HUD flatlane. Ward's dead. Quit the grandstanding and get us inside before those spiders wake up.
The note leaves the prism bellows, not as sound in the vacuum, but as a ripple of pure, golden conceptual light. It strikes the necrotic siphon ward with absolute mathematical contradiction. The purple filaments vibrate violently for a microsecond, unable to reconcile the harmony, and then simply vanish into harmless mist. The trap is dismantled without a whisper. The path into the breach is open, though the cluster of bone constructs clinging to the ceiling above remains ominous in the gloom.
Precision work, Star Singer. Now keep that momentum moving. We have a window of silence and I don't plan on wasting it. Everyone into the breach now.
You cross the threshold, the silence of the vacuum instantly replaced by the oppressive, low-frequency thrum of the dreadnought's interior. The air here is thin and cold, tasting of ozone, copper, and ancient grave dust. The walls are not merely plated, but grown. Ribbed arches of dark iron fused with leviathan bones stretch into the darkness ahead. Above you, the bone widows hang motionless in the gloom, their folded limbs resembling grim chandeliers. The path is open, the magical ward dissolved, but the ship feels aware of your presence, breathing around you with a slow, necrotic pulse.
Eyes on the ceiling, bone widows overhead. Absolute noise discipline from here on out. Keep your gear quiet and your comms tighter.
Charlie zooms her optical sensors, bringing the ceiling cluster into sharp relief. The Bone Widows are a grim fusion of necromancy and salvage, spider-like chassis constructed from rib cages and hydraulic piping. They hang motionless, anchored by magnetic claws, but they aren't dead metal. You can see the faint, rhythmic expansion of biosacs between their joints, pumping a preservative fluid. They are dormant sentinels, likely triggered by vibration or rapid thermal shifts.
Analysis: Bone Widows. Structural examination suggests internal auditory dampeners are minimal, implying high sensitivity to external sonic or vibrational frequencies. Probability of motion-sensitive acoustic sensors is 97.4%. Recommend absolute silence and minimal kinetic disruption during transit. Inefficient engagement protocols will result from activation.
Aya, Roger, switching mag boots to low-impact dampening. I've dodged enough radar to know how to ghost a corridor. Keep the pacing smooth, no sudden shifts in kinetic energy. I'm not interested in finding out how fast those things can drop. Aya adjusts her gait, her heavy revolver held steady as she stalks forward with the practiced efficiency of a professional.
Charlie adjusts her own suit's acoustic profile, her movements fluid and devoid of wasted energy. Copy, dampeners engaged. Dorian, if you so much as hum a note, I'll maglock your instrument to the bulkhead. Let's move, stay in the shadows.
Affirmative. My propulsion emitters are adjusting for minimal acoustic and kinetic output. Current projections indicate a 99.9% probability of undetected traversal with adherence to outlined movement protocols.
The airlock cycles with a suppressed hiss, and the heavy thrum of the dreadnought's heart becomes a physical weight in your chests. You move into the gloom, mag boots set to whisper mode, placing each step with agonizing care. Above, the Bone Widows hang motionless, their hydraulic limbs folded tight. The only sound is the rhythmic purr of Aura's anti-grav drive and your own breathing. To pass beneath them without triggering their motion sensors will require absolute precision. You move like ghosts through the necrotic gloom. Charlie leads with predatory grace, her armor absorbing the faint starlight. Aya's heavy flight suit threatens to clank against a strut, but Drone Unit 774 drifts closer, emitting a localized counter-frequency that swallows the sound instantly. Above you, the Bone Widows twitch in their sleep, their hydraulic limbs shivering as you pass inches beneath them, but they do not wake. You slip past the gauntlet and into the dreadnought's true interior, the ribcage corridor.
I signal the all clear with a sharp, controlled hand gesture, then point toward the diverging corridors. Clear, we've hit a junction. Aura, scan for power signatures, which path leads to the core.
The ribcage corridor is oppressive, a throat of calcified bone and iron where the air tastes of copper and stale magic. Massive, rib-like arches curve overhead, and the floor pulses with a rhythmic, bioluminescent violet vein that guides you deeper. To the south, a desiccated void cultist sits slumped against the wall, frozen in a final moment of reverence over a datapad. The path ahead is obstructed by a wet, glistening sealed biovalve door, while near the center, a necrotic data pillar hums with a low, headache-inducing frequency, its surface scrolling with ancient runic code.
Command received. Initiating power signature analysis. The necrotic data pillar at 7.5 registers a significant and complex energy signature, indicative of central processing and power conduits, consistent with a primary system interface or direct connection to a core function. The sealed biovalve door at 7.0 exhibits low-level power for localized mechanisms but no centralized core signature. The desiccated void cultist at 1.7 displays only trace necrotic resonance, no functional power. Conclusion: the necrotic data pillar is the most probable locus for information or access to the Dreadnought's core systems. Investigation of the data pillar is the most logical and efficient course of action.
The adrenaline of the infiltration begins to ebb, replaced by a cold, razor-sharp focus. You have breached the skin of the beast and now stand within its veins. The silence here is heavy, broken only by the rhythmic thrum of the ship's necrotic heart, a sound that feels less like a machine and more like a living thing breathing in the dark. You have secured a foothold. The Bone Widows sleep behind you, and the mysteries of the Void Eater lie ahead. For now, in this flickering violet light, the curtain falls on the first act. The board is set for what comes next.
And so, as the very arteries of this dreadnought hum around us, the initial overture concludes. A hush falls, pregnant with anticipation, as the first act gracefully bows to the void. My friends, the true drama is yet to compose its greatest symphony.